Well, I have another segment of two questions. I got the name from Andy Richter's podcast, Three Questions. And I wanted to do something similar, but I'm not going to say three questions. So I still don't have any questions from the audience as it is. But in light of that, I'm going to go to this random question generator cell phone. And I want to answer two questions. So let's go with, what is the best advice that I've been given? Well, I would have to say there's two things that come to mind right away. I'll start with the second one, which happened when I was at a jazz jam at the Blue Wisp Jazz Club in Cincinnati, Ohio, which has gone through different places and different just venue changes and ownership changes. But the Blue Wisp is one of my favorite places from my musical past, and I wish I could go back in time and see shows. But I would go to the Monday Night Jazz Jam, hosted by Sandy Suskind, while I was at the University of Cincinnati, College Conservatory of Music, essentially working on my graduate studies in cello performance. And I would go, and I would be nervous as I can get out. And I realized that when I got nervous, I started to play more than I needed to. And so the reason that was pointed out to me was because the bass player, who also happened to own the venue, would lean over. He leaned over once and said, "Hey, don't play everything you know at once." And I have to agree that that is the worst time to give someone critique, because they just played, they've been nervous, please talk to me on the side of the stage. But because it was so poorly placed and timed from the bass player, I found that I remembered it really well. And so I always tell my students, I'm like, if you're improvising, don't play everything you know at once. You just need a few notes and some rhythm, and leave space. So it taught me that space is important, and you don't have to prove yourself on stage. You just have to serve the moment. The second bit of advice goes back a little further. When I was finishing high school and going into my undergraduate in cello performance, my first idea was to double major in music education and cello performance. And the reason I did that is because I had gotten some previous advice saying that, well, if your performance career doesn't work, you should have a plan B. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, but if I have a plan B, I'm just going to do that instead. And I knew so many people who had a performance degree and an education major in music, and they would just teach high school orchestra or something. And I really didn't want to teach high school orchestra. I still don't. I've taught orchestra classes, after school programs for different schools, and I enjoy it, but it's not something I want to do all the time. I like private lessons, one-on-one. Private lessons pay the bills. It's great. But basically, when it comes to the idea of getting a double major in music ed, Gordon Epperson, my former teacher, who is no longer alive, he passed away in 2006, he told me when he was in his 80s, he said, "Don't do that. You'll never master the cello. You should just get a performance major." And I was like, well, I'll listen to the 80-something-year-old, I'll say 86. I'll listen to the 86-year-old professional musician who's had a long career, and he's very wise and has done a lot of different types of things beyond music, was a writer, had a doctorate in writing on top of his music degrees, played music in a quartet in World War II, toured the world, pedagogical notes from his etude studies books and his scale book. I mean, it just goes on and on. So I figured I'm going to take that advice. And a lot of people told me, why aren't you double majoring? You can't teach in the schools. And I'm thinking, well, I can. I can teach in private schools and all that stuff. But I really wanted to focus on cello. And I'm thankful that I did that, because I have a career in music and I didn't fall back on my plan B, which I think happens when you have a plan B. You have to be very careful with the plan B. So those are the two bits of advice. One more question. And it's if you could change anything about the industry, what would it be? So in my professional experience with the industry, I like to say that I am very jaded. I don't know why. I'm troubled by the state of the music industry now, but I'm also troubled by how it has always been. And it's mainly because money and profit is what drives it. But you need that so that people are still looking to find music. And what I wish could change is that the music industry that feeds the music to the radio stations in some way, that machine could actually listen to music for its merit, not for the sellability not for how popular they think it'll be. I think they should listen to music for the sake, is it good? And is the person behind it a good musician too? Like, are they creating material that's interesting? And I think by doing that, choosing quality music and giving it a try will be, I wish that could be the most important thing that people listen to. I've been told to change my sound to fit in a box so often. And what I've realized is that my sound is based on me. So whatever genre that I'm leaning towards or playing right out, it's that combination of genres plus the fact that it's me doing it that makes it work. Okay, send me some questions for next time, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks again for listening to this.